Okay, so we are live again. We are live. So those of you that were on the live stream previously where I gave the information about the tips for caring for the caregiver, now this is our question and answer session. So hopefully you will follow me over here and we will just chat about that. I saw one of the questions or one of the comments was that people said sometimes you just need someone to talk to. And yes, that is true. So who do we have out there now? I can greet everybody. So who do we have out there now? And we've got 3 people on. Thank you guys for coming back over. But as if you remember, it's Trisha from the Life I'm Trying to Love. Hey, Trisha, were you on the other live stream? Because I wasn't able to greet people before. And I mentioned a couple of times that I wouldn't be doing that. So, but were you on the other live stream? Yes. Okay, so did you have any questions, Trisha, about caring for the caregiver? Because I know sometimes people will have questions about that. And someone said sometimes you just need to talk. And that's right. Sometimes you do just need to talk. You just need to share what it is that you're experiencing, what you are feeling. But you also need to take some action. And that action is to do something for yourself. So who else is out there? I got 5 people out there listening. So who else is out there? I think April Will was on with us before. April, are you back with us with this live stream? So I'll give her a minute to either say yes or nay. Oh, so Trisha, the Life I'm Trying to, that's Trisha. So Trisha, you're saying you're a caregiver by profession. Okay, so now there's a couple different ways we can look at that. Caregivers by profession, nurses, CNAs, those people can also get caregiver burnout. But we look at it probably just a little bit different, but there are still some things that you need to do for yourself. It's one thing when you're working with individuals that you go into work and you're managing that care, but then at least when you leave there, you can go home and you can leave that situation behind. If you're caring for someone at home, you don't have that option. So what you have to do is be able to figure out a way to get someone to come in and maybe stay with that person for a little bit of time so that you can get away and leave that behind just for a couple of hours. If you're a caregiver by profession, hopefully wherever you're working will have in-services and different little things like that to talk about how to deal with some of the stressors that you're feeling at work. Has your place of employment offered different little workshops or in-services to help deal with caregivers' role strain? I know when I used to work at Parkview, and even at St. Joe, from time to time, we would have in-services and different things like that that we would have to do to help us manage our role. Particularly if you work in a sensitive area like hospice, you definitely have to care for yourself. So Trisha said she started out taking care of her dad. And yeah, Trisha, I had that same issue, about 10 years ago. More like 8 years ago, I guess, when my dad was very ill. Well, I guess it was 10 years ago. He was very ill for a while, and I was a significant part of his caregiving, not just when he was home, but when he was in the hospital and having to be there every day and deal with the physicians and the nurses and all of that. It can really create a significant amount of stress and strain on your psyche. It really can. So yeah, so the time away is crucial. It's very important. Has anyone else out there had to care for a family member? I know my dad is now gone, but it was certainly very stressful during that time. And right now, whereas my mom is alive and my sister is her primary caregiver, she requires quite a bit of care, not necessarily skilled care, but she needs management, supervision, help with her activities of daily living. And so my sister that is living with her experiences role strain, and then she needs relief from time to time. So yeah, I get it. I definitely get it. I think that was why I wanted to talk about this topic, just because it's just so important. So Resident Foodie and Hoarder says she did that with both of her parents. So now Resident Foodie and Hoarder, I know you're one of my new viewers and you're one of the new members here that jumped over. Are both your parents still with you? Or are both your parents gone now? You said you had to do that. So is it now in the past, or are you still working through that right now? So you would fill in for your brother when he had to get away. So now, are your parents still with you? That's my question. Because it can really be stressful to have to care for aging parents. And it's really kind of interesting. I've heard it often said that one mother, oh, your folks passed away 3 days apart in 2017. You know, that's often the way it happens. One will go and then the other will go a few days later. It's like they can't be without each other. And that is so hard. Oh my goodness. And you had 3-month-old twins when it happened. Oh yeah, I'm sure that was rough. Because not only did you have the 3-month-old babies to take care of, but you had to deal with your own grief, your own stress at losing your parents or caring for your parents and getting prepared for the loss of them. And then you've got these babies that are also completely dependent upon you. Yeah, that's hard. I get it. Trust me, I get it. Yeah, I get it. And you know, a lot of people, did you have any support? You said you would fill in for your brother, but you had the twins and then you filled in for your brother. What support did you have? Did you look into getting any counseling? Did you join a support group? What did you try to help manage your stress? Because you had to have stress. And we've got 6 people on right now. Can you guys jump in and let me know who's here? I can say hello and do a greeting now. So who's with us right now? Well, I guess they want to remain incognito, and that's okay. Oh, she said she's still not managed it, so that's why she started a YouTube channel. Hey, Rosie, how you doing? How are you? Rosie, were you on the first live stream where I talked about caregiver role strain? And then, hey, Maria from South Texas. I've got 2 Texas friends. Maria, you're in South Texas, and then Mary is in the Texas Hill Country. Not sure how far those are apart or where they are, but what we're doing is we're talking about, well, I'm doing question and answer session on care for the caregiver. And one of the things that I suggested when I did the other live stream on care for the caregiver is that it's just so important when you are in the role of caring for someone and they are completely dependent upon you that you take care of self. And I will say that when I talked about it, oh, so Rosie said it's a subject that's hard for her. When I talked about it, I was mostly thinking of people that are caring for parents or a disabled child or another family member. It could be a sister that's disabled. But when me and my husband were talking about this earlier this morning, he thought about, well, what about those moms with children? And whereas those of you with children know the stress of caring for someone else, I'm thinking it's not quite the same. It's very similar, but you do have a little bit different supports most of the time. So Rosie says it's hard to talk about, and I get it. You know, working through the loss of a parent is never easy. And notice I said working through. I didn't say getting over. I said working through because you don't get over it. You just kind of work through it, but it's always there with you. So some of the suggestions that I gave for, oh, excuse me, that I gave for as far as tips for the caregiver, one was to do something for yourself every day. And I think for the most part as women, it is so often we are socialized to care for others. And so Maria said she was the caregiver to both of her parents. And as women, that task so often falls to us. Now, Rosie, you said, oh, you mean the wording is working through it and not over it? Yes, because that's what it is. You don't get over the loss of a parent or a child even. You work through it, you get through it, but it is always there. It just isn't as raw, but it's there. And you have to do some things to take care of yourself. I know for myself, one of the things that I have found to be very helpful in my self-care routine is therapy. That's why I'm such a big proponent of mental health counseling because it can be so helpful. And So Trisha said her son is in the role of taking care of her since she had a stroke. And I remember now, Trisha, I can't remember one of the other ladies on our channel, on our in our community, is hosting a channel that talks about stroke and recovering from stroke. And I remember now you did say that you had a stroke. If you don't mind sharing, what kind of issues are you having as a result of the stroke? Are you having mobility issues? Is it like movement with your arms, your legs, swallowing? What? I mean, you're obviously able to think okay because you're able to type and kind of communicate with us, but what kind of things are going on if you don't mind sharing? And if you don't want to share, that's okay too. You can just say, you know what? I'm not comfortable with sharing that, and I get it. Oh, so you had a trans ischemic attack, and so you've got some left-sided deficit. Okay. Yeah, I get that. Okay, so you had a left-sided deficit. So he's helping you, probably, is he helping you with your driving? Do you need help with meal prep? That kind of thing. One of the things that families can do, and I did mention this, is look for a support group to help with just being able to talk about some of the problems that you're experiencing. And in the support group, sometimes they can provide solutions or suggestions for some of the very same problems that you're having because they've already worked through that. So that's something to consider. The other suggestion that I made was doing something for yourself every day. So he does the cooking and running errands. Okay, that's great that you've got him to do that. There's another resource in many communities called Meals on Wheels that can provide meals for people with disabilities. But the problem with that is that the meals are like hospital food. So because they have to cater to a wide variety of palates, then sometimes people don't care for the food. And so that's a problem. The other thing with Meals on Wheels, which is usually under the Council on Aging, there's a long waiting list because there's a lot of senior citizens out there that need help with cooking and supports in the home. So yeah, that can be a problem. And I hope that you're getting some physical therapy continued, Tricia, so that you can continue to try to rehabilitate that left side because sometimes you can get complete recovery, but it takes a very long time, a very long time. So now, Maria and Rosie, when you were caring for your parents, what did you do something for yourself to try to take care of yourself each day? Did you try to practice self-care? And if you did, what did you do? I know for myself, one of the things that I practice self-care for myself today is that my time at the yoga mat is just invaluable. And I try to preserve that. I try not to put anything else ahead of my time at the yoga mat. And I try to do that first, to get my day started with that time at the yoga mat, just so I can spend a little time thinking about what I'm going to do for the day, getting my body stretched and working the kinks out, and just helping with my personal mobility. And then I'm better able to start my day. How many of you like to do long baths for self-care, or do you like drinking tea? What's your self-care thing? Tell me. Like, what do you do for self-care? Oh, so Trisha, you were just told you could do yoga. I do yoga online, and I do yoga with Adrienne, and she has a lot of different programs. If go online and find her, and she's got different practices for different things. And you can find one that's for beginners. You could find one that's for bad. She even has some for rehab. I would check her out and see what's what. And then I think it was Maria that just said she likes to do reading. And I also like to read. That's one of the things that I do for me too. I like to read at night before I go to bed. Now, sometimes I replace that reading with looking at YouTube videos, but I do like to read every day. I know it's just difficult for me to go to sleep if I'm not, even if I only read half a page. I've just got to look at something drives my husband crazy sometimes. He's like, look, can you turn the light out? But I do need to read before I go to bed. And sometimes, just maybe looking at a little video to kind of help me cozy in. So, yeah. Did either of you consider getting out of the house, maybe with family or friends a couple times a week? I have a friend, I'll just say a friend so that there's no way anybody can identify her, but she can never get out of the house away to herself that she isn't called while she's away. She can be out to lunch, she can be out to dinner with friends, she can be at a movie. I don't care where she goes, someone from her house is going to call her for the most insignificant little thing. So I told her the next time we're going out, I'm taking your phone and putting it on silence, just so you can have at least 2 or 3 hours by yourself. Because as adults, you are entitled to at least a couple of hours by yourself. So, a resident foodie, tell me your name. I forgot what you said it was. Is it Casey? But you said you had a hard time getting out of the house. Well, I believe you're the one that had twins. And yeah, it's hard getting out of the house with twins because there's not often someone who's going to want to take on that burden for you. But you have to try to be able to figure that out. I know I have twins also, but my twins are now 46. But when they were little, it was hard to get people who would watch them. And when I was going back to work and was looking for a babysitter, Elisa, okay, so resident foodie is Elisa. So when I was going back to work and I was looking for a babysitter, it was hard to find someone who would want to watch twins. Like, oh no, can't do that, because twins are a handful. But yeah, and because of that, and because of the unique problems that go along with twins, I did join the Mother of Twins Club in the area where I was living at the time, because it is a problem. It can be unique. And I remember once when I had taken them to the doctor, they must have been about 4 years old, no, maybe 2 or 3 years old, for one of their baby checkups. And they were just like running everywhere. And I said, oh, Dr. Villanueva, I just don't know what I'm doing wrong. I just don't know why they're acting like this. And he said, oh, they're mild today. And I was like, oops. But he's like, they're mild today. But he said, mothers with twins are always overwhelmed. Oh, your mother had Alzheimer's and it was hard for your dad. Yeah. Yeah, that can be a problem. And I tell you what, I don't know if there's any easy solutions. Particularly if you've got a family member with Alzheimer's, you want to have someone who comes in to stay with them, someone that that can help manage whatever symptoms are going on with that person, because they need to either be able to recognize them or at least feel comfortable with them. And yes, if you don't get some help, then your health can break down. And that's one of the things that I didn't talk about on the first video, but that many times the person that's doing the caregiving will die. They will succumb to the stresses of caring for their loved one, and that person is still alive and going strong, and then someone else is going to have to take over that caregiver role. So it is so important that you do care for yourself, or like you said, your health can break down, and we don't want that to happen. Yeah, your health can certainly break down. And sometimes it'll take a family member or someone outside your group watching to let you know what's going on. I know sometimes, depending upon what's going on in my family, particularly as Mickey and I struggle to care for our mom, he'll say, look, you need to rest because this is what I see. And whereas I may not see it, he does, or they might. Because my daughter a couple of times has said, Mom, what are you doing to take care of yourself? So yeah, your health can certainly suffer. So you got to make sure you do that. Yeah. This was a hard topic, guys. This was a hard topic. And it wasn't an easy topic, and it wasn't certainly necessarily anything that I wanted to do. So yeah, Mary's Nest is on, and she was primary caregiver for her dad for 12 years. He had Parkinson's. Yeah, this is a hard topic. And Trisha said her dad, I missed it. So yeah. Well, now, Maria, you have to find someone that you can trust. I know you said you had difficulty leaving your parents with someone else. And I know my sister Mickey has those same fears. I've said several times, why don't we get an aide or someone that can come in and stay with mom for a few hours and let you get out? So your dad had ALS and your mom had IBC. Oh my goodness, you really had your hands full. But she is not comfortable with caregivers that we don't know because she's afraid that whoever comes in might be abusive. And as you all know, we've seen too many times where people have been abused by persons that family members are paying to care for them or by family members themselves. See, that's the thing too. Sometimes family members themselves so often could be the culprit. So yeah, there's a lot that we have to be concerned about. So Mary, you said you took care of your dad for 12 years. Is that when you moved to Texas or that's when you were still in New York? But yeah, it can be hard. Okay, well, sounds like we're starting to get crickets on here, so maybe we've exhausted our conversation. So guys, maybe it's time for us to wrap it up. So Trisha just said if you qualify for Medicaid, they'll pay for nursing home. That's true. Yeah, and so your mom cared for your dad until she got sick, and it could be that caring for your dad exacerbated whatever illness she had. Because as we know, when you care for someone else consistently, it can break you down. So yeah, and you're right. If you have Medicaid, it will pay for a nursing home so that that person can get the care they need. And now let's talk about that piece. To put a loved one in a nursing home, particularly in some cultures, is an anathema. It's like, oh no, I can't put my person in a nursing home. But here's the thing. Is a nursing home going to provide the level of care for 24 hours that they need so that you can come in and out, keep track of things, but also be able to take care of yourself? That's the question. Because so many of us think of putting a loved one in a nursing home is a bad thing. So Anna Raju is on. Anna Raju, you haven't been with us for a while. Hello. We are talking about caring for the caregiver. Oh, so your parents qualified, but when they applied, they separated their income from Social Security. Yeah, Social Security, when you do go into a nursing home, if Medicaid has to pay for it or if Social Security has to pay for it, then whether if Medicaid or Medicare pays for it, then you lose a lot of your personal resources. That's one reason why a lot of people don't want to put their person in a nursing home because it just pretty much wipes out all of the resources that may be. So that's something to think about. Somebody just said this is their first live stream. So, hey, welcome to the first live stream. We're just kind of chatting now. We're talking about caring for the caregiver and how important it is to engage in self-care if you care for someone else for a significant period of your day. And when I started the live stream, I was thinking more in terms of aging parents or partners or children with disabilities. But certainly, if you are a single mom with children or a child that has some special needs, that is significant as well. You also need to provide care for yourself. And one of the things that I suggested, one of the tips that I suggested was to do something every day for yourself. So let me ask you guys, what do you do every day to care for yourself? That was our tip number one. The second tip was to get away either by yourself or with friends. And one of my suggestions was go thrifting with your girlfriends or go thrifting by yourself. You're only going to be out for 2 or 3 hours, but it can help. Now, you said when you did it a few years ago, there was no one to care for you. You were just surviving. And you know what? Unfortunately, as women, sometimes that's how it is. Sometimes all we can do is put one foot in front of the other and survive. And then we get to a point where we begin to thrive. But I'm not trying to say it's easy. I am not trying to say it's easy, but it is possible. And one of the things that can help you get to thriving is therapy. That mental health counseling is invaluable. And I'm going to say, you're not crazy if you go. I'm going to say, you crazy if you don't go, because it can be so helpful. So I think resident foodie, I think you're Elisa, and you said you're working on thriving. And sometimes, it takes a while to get to that thriving point. But you can see the progress. You can see your shine coming back just little by little till eventually you're where you want to be. You feel like you're yourself again. So yeah, getting help is always a better idea. And I think it's a Lynn's life or it's Elle's life, something like that. So, resident foodie, that's Elisa. She's working on self-care right now by washing her face every day. That's a start. You guys, I think everybody that's on here typically follows me, and Lynn's life typically follows me. And one of the people that I follow the Fly Lady, and I do my cleaning according to the Fly Lady cleaning method. But what I learned the other day is that when the Fly Lady is Marla Silly, Cillly or something like that. Not like silly, but it's Cillly or something like that. But that she struggled with overwhelming depression. And she was seeing a therapist, and she could like just barely get out of bed. And so her therapist told her to just do one thing every day. And she had her start with washing her face. Just one thing every day. And she started out with just washing her face. Because one of the things when you get into crippling depression is that you don't want to get dressed, you don't want to bathe, you just don't want to do anything. So she started out that simple, just, kind of getting herself, washing her face, and then gradually just doing one thing every day. And she learned that doing one task for 10 minutes got it done. So her whole system is built around a series of routines, none of them taking more than 10 minutes at a time. So some of you guys that are listening might say, washing your face, you don't wash your face every day. Trust me, that is a struggle, and it's huge. If you've got depression to the point that you can barely get out of bed, you probably don't even want to eat, let alone try to wash your face or anything like that. Because self-care is one of the first things to go when people are experiencing crippling depression. Now, I'm not talking about depression because you had a fight with someone and so you're mad. So it's your 30-day challenge. Okay. So Anita says it's better to take care of family members yourself rather than put him in a nursing home. And Anna, I get that. And I can agree with that. But sometimes that's not always possible. Sometimes what happens is, and no, I'm not saying it's okay to put it out there that we got that. We didn't get that it's okay to put your loved one in a nursing home. That's not what we got at all. What we got is that it may be an option, and it may be an option that you have to take advantage of whether you want to or not. Because depending upon the level of care that your person needs, you may not be able to meet their needs. Now, when my dad was alive, we managed his care at home for a very long time, and I did a significant part of that care. But here's the thing. I was 10 or 12 years younger then than I am now. I can't manage that level of care every day now. That's number one. But number two was he got to a point in the last few weeks before he died that we couldn't manage him at home. We couldn't do what he needed at home. So when he went into the hospital, he went to a nursing home from there. So Elisa said that they had to learn how to manage their father at home. And yes, there's lots of things you can learn to do at home. They can be on a vent. You can learn to do bathing, turning them. You can learn how to suction the ventilator, IVs. You can do all kind of stuff when they're home. But sometimes they do get to a point where you can't manage them. If you can't physically lift them, turn them, move them, somebody's got to be able to do that. And me now, at my age and in my condition, I can't do that anymore. And I'm not trying to break me down. So, like I told my sister Mickey, so my everyday life caring for someone with Alzheimer's is very hard. Yeah, I can imagine that someone with Alzheimer's, that would be very difficult. But like I was going to say, my sister Mickey, she struggles every day because caring for my mom is very difficult. And I just told her, I says, as long as mom is able to do certain things, we can keep her at home and I can come over and I can help. But if they get to a point that I can't manage her at home, I'm not trying to kill me. I have children and grandchildren that still need me, so I have to be aware of that. And the husband, he's over there in the peanut gallery. So yes, so I mean, I have family members that still need me, and maybe I can best meet her needs by placing her in a situation where she's able to get the care she needs, and then I go in and oversee that care every day. It just depends, and you have to do what's best for you. And some cultures, it varies. I know when I used to take my students for their clinical practicum, and we went to a nursing home a couple days a week. And there were several women that were in some rooms, and I knew that some of those women were only in the nursing home because they didn't have daughters. They only had sons. And so often the son's wife won't take care of the husband's mother, but the daughter will take care of her mother. So yeah, you want to do your best to take care of the person yourself, but you don't want to break yourself down, because then you're no good to anyone. Because then if you break yourself down, your health suffers, then you end up dying, and then they still end up in a nursing home because someone has to take care of them. So just think about that. That's all we're saying. Yeah, it's not easy. It's certainly not an easy decision, and it can disrupt families depending upon who wants to do what. And yeah, frugal needs to, if the burden is falling on one person, then that's amazing. Now, Elisa said that her brother stepped up and helped. Well, my brother is like pretty much non-existent when it comes to helping care for my mom. It was the same way when it came to caring for our father. He would come and visit every now and then. Hi, how you doing? And then he's out the door. But it was left to the girls to to manage the care. And that is how often it is in so many families. It is left to the women of the family to manage the care. So, that's where we are. That's the way it is. Now, in some cultures, though, they just don't. But if you think about how mobile cultures are today, though, we are a lot more mobile than we used to be at one time. I have 3 children. My daughter lives in Memphis. My youngest son lives in Atlanta. And then I have one son that lives here. So my least nurturing son lives in the city that I'm in. My 2 most nurturing children live hundreds of miles away. So there's that to think about. So as we get older, so Tricia said she has 3 sons and they all help take care of you, and that's great. And then Elisa said hers quit their job to help. And then Lynn said her mom and dad, I missed it. It's gone because the comments were popping up so quick that I missed them. But yeah, this is not an easy topic. It is not an easy challenge. And then throw in your own family. Like if you're in that sandwich generation, you're trying to look after aging parents, and then you've got children at home too. That can be a struggle. I know when my dad's mother was living in St. Louis, and then she got to a point where grandma couldn't take care of herself anymore, and her nieces up there called and told dad he was going to have to come and get her because she couldn't live by herself anymore, and they couldn't take care of her. So when he drove up there, got her, brought her here, and set her up in a little studio apartment, for the first time in his life, he got to really see what it was like to completely have to take care of someone else. Now, when we were kids, he helped take care of us, but you couldn't consider, though, that at my age, my dad was helpful, but not as helpful as the dads are today. My mom did most of the work. Well, my dad, it was only him and a brother, and his brother died long ago. So when grandma came here to live, dad had to make all the decisions and do everything. So he would go over there every day, sit there and visit with her, talk with her, and then I would go over to help him. And my youngest son was living at home at the time, and he would be help me in helping to manage different things that she needed. He would go over and take her groceries or whatever. And I tried to get her to live with me, but she didn't want to stay here with me. It was a new environment, and she was starting to get Alzheimer's. So she didn't want to stay here. She wanted to stay with my dad. But her and my mom didn't get along. So that just, it wasn't good. I'll just put it that way. It wasn't good. So that didn't work out. But, so grandma ended up living in a nursing home after she got to the point that she couldn't live in her apartment. And see, this is the other thing. If your loved one goes into the hospital, say you're older adult, they go into the hospital for whatever reason, social services will come down and visit them and make sure that they're able to live independently, because one thing that, the U.S. government tries to do is make sure that our seniors are living well, and they want them to live at home as long as possible. But if they're not able to live independently, then we want to make sure they're protected. So social services will come down and do an assessment to see if they are able to live on their own. And if they don't think so, they won't let them go home with you. They will try to see what needs to happen to make sure they're cared for. And see, no one's talking about putting them in a nursing home to get rid of them. Yeah, and so, we don't want to do that. We don't want to put them in a nursing home to take care of them. What we want to do is make sure they get the care they need and that they are helpful. And really, if you think about it, what the statistics show, as I'm always good to say, what the evidence shows is that really less than 10% of the older adults in the U.S. live in a nursing home. Less than 10%. 90% of older adults are doing what we call aging in place. They are living in their homes or in assisted living situations. Now, one of, Fly Lady Cat, she's the Fly Lady mentor that I have. Her and her sister take turns taking care of their parents. What she does is she goes over and stays for a week. And I guess her husband goes with her, but she goes over and stays for a week, cooks, cleans, to the whole 9 yards, and then she takes care of her mom and dad. And then the next week, the other sister goes over and stays there. So that's one way of keeping the parents out of a nursing home. Now, whether or not I could get my husband to go over and stay for a week, he's in the other room saying heck no. He's like, you can go stay, but not me. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It really is. So we are not advocating to just dump your older adult in a nursing home or your disabled person in a nursing home. That is not what we are suggesting. What we are suggesting is that you manage them in their home and get the care you need. And one thing that a lot of people aren't aware of is that if you have insurance, a lot of times your insurance will pay for someone to come in and assist you with care, or will pay for respite care, because it's cheaper to pay someone to come in and pay them, I don't know, $10 or $12 an hour for 3 or 4 hours a day, maybe once or twice a week, to come in and help look after that person, than to pay for nursing home care. So that's something, and we have to be willing to do that. We have to value paying for the care that is required as much as we value getting our hair done, getting our nails done, getting our weaves. We have to look at it that way. because it's all going to come down to dollars. And if you're in other countries, to euros. Hospice denied your dad because he wouldn't agree to a DNR. Um, this is interesting that hospice denied your dad because he refused a DNR. DNR is do not resuscitate. Now, this is the thing. Hospice is for more than just end of life care. It is also for people who need palliative care or care that requires treatment to ease a person's suffering, to just make their last days or their last days comfortable. It doesn't mean that we're not going to do anything. So I'm sorry that that happened to you, because one of the things we think about when a person goes on hospice, usually it's anticipated that they have 6 months or less time to live. Yeah, usually we're expecting 6 months or less to live, but it is also meant, though, to help ease that person's suffering. So I am just really disappointed that that is the kind of response that you got from hospice in your area. That is very disappointing. How many years ago was that? Can I ask, was that very recent? Because that is just terrible. Oh my. Elisa said on diagnosis, her dad was given 6 months and her mom was given 2 weeks. Oh my, that is just no time to plan. But then again, death is just never convenient or comfortable. It's ugly. It's intimate, it's down, and it's dirty. It is never comfortable. And when you're caring for an older adult, you find yourself doing things you never thought you would do and seeing body parts that you never thought you would see. But as women, we do that down and dirty cleanup. That's what we do. That's what we do. Funny thing, my girlfriend said that she went over to stay with her sister's mother-in-law for an afternoon. Her sister had to go to work or something like that. And this is her sister's mother-in-law. And the husband just took no part in the care for the mother at all. He brought the mother into the home and left his wife to do all the care. And her sister had to go to work that day, so she went to work and asked my friend to come over and stay. So she said that the woman had to go to the bathroom, ended up, with diarrhea everywhere. She said she went in the bathroom to see what was going on, and she was in there naked, and she just said, nobody needs to see that. She had me cracking up just talking about her experience, and this is not something she normally does. Oh my. So they were diagnosed and given 6 months, but they certainly lived a couple of years after they received the diagnosis. So the diagnosis was wrong. Well, the prognosis was wrong on the time frame. That's what I mean. The prognosis on the time frame was wrong. And many times it is. Yeah, many times it is. Yeah, prayer is helpful. Prayer is helpful. Prayer is very helpful, but we got to do it with more than just prayer. Because, God has given us medicine to also supplement that. Okay. So cool. Okay, so, we really got into a deep conversation. I hadn't planned us to do all that, but, that's where it is. That's where it is with us. That's how we roll here in the sister circle. So Cal's Talk is here with us. So it's good. It really is nice to have all of you guys with me. And I think I better wrap this up now. I need to go over and check on my mom, see how she's doing, and talk to Max and see what their needs are. I had planned to go over as soon as I finish the live stream. So I guess I'll be doing that. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I hope I answered some questions for you. Hope we stirred up some good conversation and at least got your thought processes together. And if you've got aging parents, something you want to get them to think about is like, what's going to happen for them in the future? So are they planning for retirement or whatever? I don't know. Just get them to thinking about it. But yeah, this was a good live stream. We really got personal today. I did not intend for us to get this personal, but we did. So anyway, guys, I'm going to jump off. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. And since there are 13 of you guys on, if you guys could give me a thumbs up, that'd be great. Oh, Lynn's Life, you are in South Africa. I had no idea. What time is it over there? What time is it in South Africa? It's about 6 o'clock here. So what time is it in South Africa? Oh, it's 11:58 p.m. over there. Yeah, it's 5:58. Wow. Well, Anna, thank you. I'm glad you thought this was a good live stream. Anna, jump on it with us if you can. On Sunday, when we do our Shout Out Sunday, we come on at 7:45 p.m. Eastern on Shout Out Sunday. And then on Monday, we do a YouTube growth strategy on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So join us if you can. And yeah, this was a good live stream. Now, typically what I had planned to do was, just keep the first live stream where I actually present the information, where we talk about it. But I didn't plan to keep this live stream because I thought once we answer the questions, nobody's going to want to look at it later. But I think I better keep this because you guys, we got deep here and we provided some good information. And I think you guys could be inspirational if someone else listens. So I'm going to leave it. So I'm going to go and check on my mom and my sister. And I will check with you guys later. Bye.